see an AD carry first pick, though, honestly.
The interesting thing about it is the fact, since both Hecarim and Udyr are up, I could like rationalize, hey, you want to take the AD carry that, again, Gala is like far and away, it's his best champion by far in my mind. It's like, he is S+ tier on Kaisa, and even his other champions, the Xayah, the Tristana, maybe they fall down to like an A or an A-. So they go for that. They feel fine giving over the Hecarim. I don't necessarily agree with it. Hecarim's completely busted, but you know Udyr is able to play in this matchup. You can't really go for that 1v1, but you are able to keep up in terms of jungle clear and provide a lot of agency in the early game.
Yep, the homeless guy in a bear outfit will be locked in for the side of RNG. And that's going to be that. It's just going to be 2v2 for our second game of the series. Here we go. There's the Kaisa. Now we can see what's going on. And so it will be the Oriann. This has been a pick that, I mean, over in LEC, this was like first pick for Mad Lions and Rogue. So we are seeing that. It has been very prevalent in the LPL. Certainly not a first pick, though.
And the thing is, where do EDG respond with this? I think you probably just pick up AD carry here because, sure, I guess you could respond with a mid laner, pick up the Viktor, but I'd much prefer to see a higher priority AD carry come out, make sure those don't get banned. He looks like is going to pick up that Tristana going on forward. And, right, if you have the option of, like, aggressive playmaker, S-tier champion in this meta, or something that just clears waves and goes neutral and mid, I definitely think this was the right call.
I also really like this bot lane combo, right? You've got Tristana, Alistar. Last time around, it was Tristana, Galio, which those two champions, what they want to do during a laning phase aren't really the same thing. Alistar can go in and brute force an advantage alongside a Tristana, and it can make the lane a lot more difficult, especially for the side of Kaisa. And now you can ban out some of those other good supports, right? Get rid of the Rel, maybe get rid of something else that can help set up that Kaisa, like a Nautilus, for example, and set up EDG for a really good laning phase.
Oh, goodness, Munchables. Right now we have 4 mid lane bans coming out from RNG. I honestly feel like their last ban should be the
Look
Viktor
at
because...
Scout's face.
Yeah.
He's like, why? Why must you do this to me? I just want to play League of Legends. Viktor's still available, though. That could be banned next.
Viktor's a champion who, in my opinion, is good into both Udyr and Kaisa with that amount of zone control. He's very good against champions that do want to run into him. You will lose in early prio against the Orianna, but, right, it's a farm lane. Not much is going to happen. It would be fine. If that gets banned out, I wouldn't be surprised to see Scout go to the depths of his champion pool and maybe pull out something more aggressive. True.
You could see something like a Seraphine either, or a Karma, one of these picks that's been seen a lot elsewhere in the world. Seraphine definitely not popular here, but it's possible.
So those will be his options, right? I still think Viktor's probably the best pick. The Seraphine or the Karma will change the dynamic of your comp, where you are playing more for getting Jiejie ahead early and then transitioning into Viper being your hyper carry. But one pick a lot of mid laners haven't let go of is you could also always just bring out the Syndra. Not a big fan of Syndra in this meta, but we have seen it still pop up sometimes into this matchup.
Yeah, things like Syndra. Also things like Rise, Corki available. These fringe picks that some players like to go for. Anyway, it's going to be Gnar locked in for Flandre. That'll be the blind pick up towards the top side here. Obviously, Jace was banned away by the side of RNG, so now EDG are happy to lock that one in. And over to the side of RNG is they need a support and a top laner.
I wouldn't be surprised for them to just lock in the Leona. I think it would be a good pick into the Alistar. There's no real kill pressure in lane coming out from both sides. They do decide to go with the Nautilus. Not much pressure onto the Alistar itself. He is tankier than you. You can hook him, and then Alistar can just knock away the AD carry, and there isn't much you'll be able to do until Kaisa hits that level 6 mark, and maybe can get back into the fray with that killer instinct. And now looking where RNG go with top lane counter pick, because RNG are a very interesting team that we know Xiaohu's champion pool is very, very wide. You can always try to go towards something like, I guess, the Renekton, which isn't a counter pick at all, but let's go.
Yeah, I guess we just slam the Renekton lock. Why not? It's the LPL, right? Even if you're into a counter. The Viktor that we talked about will be the last pick. I will say I do like the Nautilus more than the Leona here, just because the 2 reasons, right? Nautilus with Kaisa feels real good. You're incredibly good at setting up the plasma stacks, but also Nautilus is real good into Tristana. Tristana, the most annoying thing about her is that she can buffer away from CC, but Nautilus, because of the way the ult works, you can quite often have that delayed knockup, so it's much, much harder to get that buffer off for Viper. So similarly to Rel, there are a lot of ways to outplay the Tristana when she tries to use the W.
And I think when we look at these two comps holistically, I definitely favor EDGs by far. I think even the last two picks at RNG locked in, they're just even better for the Viktor pick coming out. Again, providing all that zoning, loving these champions who run into him. And then when we look at the top lane matchup, we all know Gnar wins in the isolated 1v1. Renekton does have opportunities in 2v2. You want to make that matchup volatile, and you want to have a bit of jungle pressure when looking for those 2v2 kills, getting some vision down, and getting him in that matchup that way. So I'm curious to see if RNG will opt into that, or they'll do what we typically see with the Renekton, kind of leave him to his own devices. He's going to be fine. Sure, he's going to fall behind in lane, but let him come into a lot of these early skirmishes that we're going to see around the, 5 to 8 minute mark for early Dragons and Heralds.
I certainly hope we see some early skirmishes, because game number 1, Lyric, I feel like EDG hadn't had the coffee yet. They didn't show up. They didn't really know what they were doing on the map, and RNG had a free ticket to a game win. We're going into game number 2. EDG just got to shake that off, pretend game number 1 never happened, and come in with a fresh mindset. I like the comp that they've built for themselves. I honestly think that compositionally, we're actually in a fairly even spot as we head into game number 2. All right, so let's talk junglers here, Mr. Lyric. It's Wei and Jiejie. Both of them have been exceptional junglers in the league across the course of this split. Maybe we'll hold off on that point, because Ming and Gala just go for a bit of an adventure, just going to drop a ward and back away. But you can see Wei and Jiejie both looking like they'll start on the top side this time around.
I honestly think both junglers just start towards your bottom camps, make that full clear towards top side. Again, hover around this more volatile lane. The bot lane 2v2 should be fine unless we see any shenanigans coming out early on. And funny enough, I agree with what you said in Sham Select. Both comps, I'd say, feel pretty similar. As I'm going to pause on that, as RNG looking for a bit of a cheese, but not going to be able to find it, not spotting Viper out walking back to lane. But I actually feel like EDG are on the side of the composition this time that feels fine, being the team that, as we put it last game, quote unquote, can be straight up chilling. Jiejie just needs a shadow for some of his laners. There will be gank opportunities, I think, in both of your side lanes. Mid will be more of a farm fest. There really isn't kill pressure on the side of Viktor. Oriann will have more opportunities once she gets that shockwave available if the Udyr does come to this lane. But to me, EDG definitely went out in the 5v5. They definitely went out in the late game, and they definitely went out in the way that these two compositions interact.
A little bit of a tussle in that bottom side. I just want to very quickly point out a nice little bit of play from EDG while Ming and Gala were trying to brute force that cheese. And you can see Ming stepping up looking for the level 2 spike here. Look at this punish. Viper dropped a ward in that bot lane river brush, and it meant that they had complete information. They knew that RNG was still messing about, hadn't returned to their bot lane yet. So they were able to play it safe. And now EDG have to continue to play it safe, because the level 2 has been hit by RNG, and that's a nice little hook there onto Meiko. Gala's Q just going to hit onto the minions, though, so they can't quite follow up in any significant way.
I'm also surprised, just going back to the mid lane real quick, that Cryin took so much punishment at level 1, because we panned to the matchup once, both mid laners hit level 2. Cryin was about 50% HP, and it's like, sure, Scout is giving up his mana pool to look for those trades. You look at the resources available, right? Cryin already using all 3 of his corrupting potions, to where Scout still has 1, as well as a biscuit.
Here we go, though. Jiejie, 80% first blood rate, and he wants to continue that streak. Onto Ming he goes. Nice flash from Ming, though. Means he's safe. JJ's low himself. Gala, I don't think, can finish this kill off. Another hook goes in, this time onto Meiko, who's forced out of the lane as well. And Gala and Ming just destroying EDG 2v3.
They did have to blow more summoners, but the big thing is this should end up being a double scuttle crab coming out for Wei. Does look like he's going to use this scrying orb. I guess just going to opt into maybe taking a Krug or looking for a 1v1 rather than going towards topside, where both EDG's laners had prio.
And look at Wei now, wants to use that opportunity. Ming moves in as well. Meiko and Viper want to contest this crab. On to Wei they go, looking for a kill for themselves. The jungle is moving over. Wei, low on HP. Viper wants to make the play, but Ming stops him with the Nautilus. This is what we were talking about. The staggering blow denies the rocket jump. Now Gala's arrived. Can he save Ming? The heal comes through, and RNG get away with it again. Cryin's here on the backside for first blood. Viper's gone too far, and EDG are torn asunder.
Amazing plays coming out from RNG, taking advantage of what was initially, in my mind, a mistake coming out from Wei. They go a bit too far. If you look at the items, Jiejie even coming out with an item advantage. He has a Ruby Crystal, so coming in with more effective health. Viper and Meiko easily able to get there faster because it is in their side of the jungle. They're forced out, but then just nice TPs coming out from Cryin and Xiaohu to guarantee those kills. And we talked about, hey, this top lane matchup is volatile. It's definitely a win for Gnar, but it's not unplayable. He now has played at steel caps.
Yeah. If it wasn't unplayable before, it is now. And just look at this staggering blow from Ming. Denies the rocket.
Beautiful.
It's too good.
But then we keep watching, right? Both of RNG soul laners have gotten their waves pushed out. Now Cryin is already making his way down. We see that Xiaohu finds a really good position to look for that teleport. Cryin already picks up one, and I mean, it's a 5v3 on the bot side of the map. There's realistically nothing EDG can do in this scenario, but ooh, some big damage coming out from Scout.
Scout is bodying Cryin in the 1v1 right now. Like, every single time the camera pans to the 1v1 between Scout and Cryin, it is going heavily in Scout's way. And yes, Viktor is meant to win these trades early a little, but not like this. It's not meant to be like 100-0.
Yeah, it's really interesting because Viktor wins this lane at level 1. Viktor's level 1 is just extremely strong, coming out with the base damage for his Q as well as having the shield. But I think Oriann has a bit of wiggle room to contest the wave once you do hit level 3. And then kind of the longer the matchup goes on, the more levels come under your belt. Viktor is favored because his E laser does outrange Orianna's combo. But, I mean, it looks like Scout's just hitting everything. He's hitting every laser, maybe, you know, landing some gravity fields. Every time Cryine's in range, he hits the Q. And like you said, it just feels like it's going a bit more one-sided than it should be.
Here we go. Wei wants to keep the pace up high here. Viper with the rocket jump has no flash available. Wei try and move in, but the triple knockup from Meiko. Wei has no opportunity now. Meiko says no.
Just really nice coming out. We are going to see RNG get bot Prio. This should be able to turn into a dragon for them. They also just saw Scout recall in the mid lane. They know he doesn't have TP available. But instead, they're going to prioritize resets, maybe having some gold in his pocket. But actually, RNG just look undecided, Munchables. They look undecided.
Yeah, not willing to commit to that one. Perhaps unsure of where Scout was. Perhaps unaware on that one. But now they are going to commit to the Drake after all. They were just, I don't know, just being tourists, I guess. Having a little explore of what's on the backside of the Dragon Pit. Blast code's back in. This will be the first Drake, though, importantly, for RNG. And for 2 games running now, Mr. Lyric, RNG play through the bottom side and manage to build themselves a lead.
It is so strange, right? Again, if you were here watching LPL during the regular season, you would know. RNG put all of their resources into Xiaohu. It was, you know, 2-man ganks, 3-man ganks. They would get turret down in some matchups by 8 to 10 minutes because they were picking champions like the Lucian, like the Jace so often, but completely changing their strategy here in playoffs. Against EDG, I guess you could argue maybe it's a good thing. It comes down to what do you think is best, exploiting a team's like weakest link or the area they don't put resources in, which is Flandre, or do you think it's better to shut down their strength, which we know is Viper? So RNG definitely opting into the latter, and it's paying dividends for them so far.
And you can see that Viper is aware of what's going on, right? Goes for the cull, which is something that, I mean, cull isn't particularly meta right now, but certainly not on Tristana. Tristana's a pick that you go for, generally speaking, because you want to find advantages in the early game and snowball and still be that crit AD carry later as well. The cull doesn't really typically lean into that style of play. It's not something we usually see from the Tristanas in the LPL. So it feels like he's acknowledging the fact that, hey, we're behind in the early game. We're not finding these all-ins. That's not happening anytime soon. Just play the economy game, try and farm up, and then come back into things a little bit later on. But you can see across the board, obviously there's the CS advantage for Gala because Viper's been struggling a little bit. But up in the top side, Xiaohu, off the back of that TP play, even though he's down in CS, he's actually going to be massively ahead in the top lane. Both have the plated steel caps, and once Xiaohu recalls again, he'll be able to start to get some damage under his belt. And with that big advantage in the top side, means Wei has plenty of opportunity to just go straight towards his Herald.
And this is one where we saw EDG start to make their way towards that Rift Herald. As if you noticed, Viper was pathing down mid. I'm glad at the last second they recognized, hey, let's not go for this, because we already hit on earlier how EDG's comp should win out later with the way that these team comps interact. So he falls behind a little bit, has that call that you talked about. Gala's extremely strong right now. Again, when Xiaohu does find his next back, I think he will be at a pretty good point of power as well. So the name of the game for me for EDG is weather the storm and make plays on the opposite side of the map where RNG are looking. And I think we know for RNG, it's going to continue to be that bot lane.
Oh, Ming, you're in a whole heap of trouble. Gets the flash out, though. Viper's in it. It doesn't matter what abilities you have. It doesn't matter if you flash. Not against this composition, it don't.
So that was a really nice use of tempo by EDG, right? Because since RNG were the team making the play on top side for Herald, it gave EDG the window to get back on the map first on the bottom side. They go down, they set up for that cheeky play, getting in those brushes, and they realize, hey, Ming's going to walk to lane. He's probably going to want to get some vision in this dry brush, and they find that nice pick off. So very good use of tempo coming out from the side of EDG.
And it feels like finally we get a positive to talk about for EDG, because I mean, coming off the back of their series in the upper bracket against FPX, there was tons of positives to bring out. It was about the aggressive early game that we saw, which wasn't customary EDG. It felt like a huge upgrade comparatively to the regular split. Usually it was just about the slow, controlled gameplay, but they'd up the tempo. And it felt like today that wasn't going to be shown at all, but we are now starting to see a couple of inklings of that play again.
And now we're going to look to what Jiejie does on the map, right? Because we are seeing this go a bit expected to plan. Wei is continuing to focus towards this bottom side of the map with the bit of advantage that their bottom lane has accrued. Maybe they're going to look to drop it down and get some plates. This should be at least one plate for Gala, so can guarantee 2 more. Force them off the wave, maybe force Viper to lose some golden XP,
Meiko's
but a
still
die!
only level 5. He is not tanky enough for this play. Viper is alone here trying to clear the wave. It will force RNG away, Jiejie. Not on a ward. That was cleared away by the control ward. So they didn't have vision there. But I think it was pretty safe to assume that Jiejie had moved down here. Does have... Oh, in fact, Onslaught of Shadows is currently on cooldown. This could be dicey for EDG. But I think they will be able to protect this tower eventually and hold on to that first tower gold importantly.
And RNG are totally fine with Jiejie just answering and responding to their plays on the same side of the map, because RNG are getting more than EDG are able to stem the bleeding in that scenario. We look at CS, their bot lane's ahead, their jungle is vastly ahead, mid lane's even, top lane's even, and we're once again coming to a point where Drake is spawning in 10 seconds. Xiaohu is getting pushed in, so maybe Flandre starts roaming down for that one, but both top laners have TP, they can both get there, but EDG are the team on the map first, and they should be able to get some vision down in this bot side river.
Cryin could be in trouble here as Jiejie tries to move towards that mid lane. Onslaught Shadows available, Ghost available. Cryan's about to be run down, but a great flash, and then a shockwave as well. Cryin in the 2v1 outplays Jiejie.
Great coming from him, and now this should just be another free dragon for RNG. Looking very similar to last game, Munchables. Seeing some errors come out from EDG, some overforcing. Maybe, you know, making plays where they don't necessarily need to be looking for. We're not seeing them necessarily play around where they're strong, but again, I just want to highlight that their comp is still fine. They aren't too behind yet, but I think RNG are doing such a good job of using their pressure where they're strong and playing with the lead that they have.
Lyric, you sound exasperated, mate. Talk to me. What's going on in your head? What's upsetting you? Because I feel like you're getting frustrated at what we're witnessing here today.
Munchables, I feel like we all just don't know anything about this game because we are always wrong with what will happen. Again, it's so strange to see coming out from EDG. I think game 1 was the stranger one, right? Like that one, all over the place with how they're playing it out, with the decisions they're making. This one, it's a bit more acceptable, even in that play where they did get outplayed, is just a bit of a trade coming out from top laners. Yeah. Right, it was RNG playing it well, dedicating those 2 TPs. It's like I could understand the decision making that EDG was going through, but it's still a bit baffling.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing to see the performance we're getting out of EDG so far. But as you rightly said, yes, they're 2,000 gold down. Yes, they're 2 dragons down, but it's not over yet. They've got a Viktor, they've got a Tristana. There's plenty of scaling. They're not so far behind that this game is over. So I'm hoping we get a bit of a resurgence later on from EDG. Flandre certainly has a big lead for himself. The 2 kills that happened early are a little unfortunate for him. But in the actual individual 1v1, has a CS lead, managed to get 3 of those plates for himself as well, is obviously stacking up millions of grass procs against a Renekton, so he will still be in a good spot by the time we get to the mid game.
I also think, luckily for EDG, Viper's just about to finish his call, so that 100 passive gold from, hitting the minions, as well as he's about to get that burst of 350, so he is still on track for being just as strong as Gala. He's already sitting on his Kraken Slayer as well, and we know what to expect, Munchables. This is RNG keeping us on the clock. They're very strictly and diligently waiting for that 3-minute mark, and I expect us to just see Wei probably hover towards bot side. They're going to go and try and get some vision into EDG's jungle, and maybe just try to hover around, force Viper and Meiko off turret, and allow for Gala and Ming to be able to safely hit that one.
They can certainly try and get some hits in there. Wei moving up to the top side, as Flandre is very pushed right now. Does have a ward, so should be able to wander away. He's currently in mini Gnar. He just transformed as well, so will be exhausted. There is the potential for a dive if Flandre doesn't respect it. Does have his TP up. Has got a bit of a dive in the bottom side here. Jiejie just going to dash back out again. Just testing the waters a little bit as Viper crashes the wave underneath the tower, but EDG not really committing to this.
And we see the teams making the opposite plays of what I predicted. This was never going to work out for EDG. Like, your 3-man just isn't strong enough right now to where you really have the power to dive Gala and Ming. And also, Gala and Ming respected. They had tons of vision control around before EDG did clear that one. They're even going to contest this 2v2 and at least put a bit of punishment down for Jiejie. I thought Jiejie would want to play around where he does have a strong member, considering that Flandre is on that stride breaker right now. But across the board, RNG have more mythics, so instead, Jiejie goes for the decision.
They can go for this. The TP's coming through. They want the dive. Looking for Ming to start this one off, but he had a stopwatch, so he's fine on this one. All 5 members coming in, but EDG, actually, it was a teleport cancelled, and it means that Xiaohu gets to go in strong in this fight. In they go with Gala getting more. Meiko falls. Xiaohu's on 4 already, and Ming's got the hook. Viper has to flash.
The punishment comes out for the bot lane. Dive, the stopwatch was there. Wei even did his job. The run stun job's done was solidified in the top lane to make sure Flandre isn't able to get down to that play. And RNG are just playing a game of punishing EDG's mistakes right now. And now off that play as well, Cryin is going to be able to secure this mid turret. So another injection of gold, and we're going to be sitting close to a 5k gold lead.
Honestly, that is more than run stun jobs done. That is run stun and glowing evaluation from your supervisor, because stopping the TP, super value there for Wei, denying Flandre a huge play, and that would have been a moment where EDG could flip the momentum of this game and get things going in their favor. That would have been the moment for them, and RNG just completely outplay it in every regard.
And now with the fact that they're so behind in gold, with the fact that RNG's 2 dragons up as we go into this play, nice flash coming out from Gala. And here's the key thing, right? Ming has a stopwatch. He's able to buy time. They aren't able to follow up on that damage. The stun comes out from Xiaohu with the W. Slice and dice in. Jiejie's low. Meiko's already low. Really nice killer instinct to follow that one up. And then, I mean, all that's left is death, Munchables.
I feel like Scout kind of messed up a little bit in that fight as well, going perhaps a little too aggressive, ended up tanking the tower, and then obviously just gets CC'd underneath it. Luden's finished for both mid laner as the Drake comes up now. EDG are clustered. They're ready. Cryin is all the way up in the top side of the map. He is the richest man on the server right now when it comes to the individual gold lead. EDG just start the Drake, trying to burst this one out. Xiaohu is nearby on the other side, but he's not into the wall. Jiejie trying to finish the Drake. Does get that 3rd Drake, but at what cost here? Because the rest of his team is just getting scattered to the wind. Scout desperately trying to escape, and a nice stun comes out. And will be 2 going down as RNG one more. Cryin taking this into his own hands. We said he was rich, and he wants to prove it as he just obliterates EDG.
And EDG just get pulled apart in that fight. RNG playing from 2 angles, right? We see Xiaohu threatening with the flank in the bottom side of the map. It forces both Flandre and Viper down there to deal with him. Flandre only ends up using a Gnar ultimate on one person to keep Xiaohu at bay, which allows the 4 other members to get onto the rest of EDG. And you're already missing 1 key ultimate. Again, everyone's split up. We are going to get a replay of it here, and just look, just does such a good job pulling attention down to him. Even Scout just using a ton of abilities, Q, E, as well as W. So EDG not really having many abilities left. We see nice engage coming out from Wei, and then they're just able to keep running forward and punishing. And Cryin holding a bit of a vendetta against Scout with that last play.
And I feel like Gala as well, kind of basically saying to EDG there, you got to ban my Kaisa. Because we first picked this Kaisa, and he just straight up wrecked Viper in the 1v1 there. Just goes in and obliterates him. Wei, it will be able to get away with that one. As the next Herald should be coming up any second. In fact, no, we're too late for the next Herald. Next Herald's already been taken. It's going to be Baron shortly. But again, RNG, look at this gold lead. 6,000 gold up. Lyric, I was told RNG are the underdogs. I was under the belief that EDG were going to come in with a great early game. They were going to be really great. Like, their team fighting is flawless. The way they control the map, blah, blah, blah. Where is that EDG? What am I witnessing?
And again, the more confusing part, right, is with the way the draft came out, they could have been fine with the slower pace style. They could have waited it out. They did overforce in certain scenarios. They did just get punished by some good plays coming out from RNG with TP use. Like, let's be fair to RNG in that regard. But again, I'm not sure what is going on with EDG today. RNG, I think, are having a good game plan. This is the one time where it's like, hey, you don't need to play around topside because EDG never give any resources to Flandre. They really never utilize Flandre's pressure. Sometimes Flandre does a good job of utilizing his own pressure to find roams or find good TP timings, but EDG as a team aren't a team to use it. So RNG with a good read coming in, they stick to the strategy that they've been using throughout playoffs thus far. And against EDG, it's a team that it's a banger against.
Yeah, I mean, right now, RNG just having their run of everything. And, I mean, you mentioned Flandre kind of having to fend for himself a lot of the time on that top side. As we do have a little bit of a scuffle. It's going to be Wei getting the big chicken for himself. Flandre actually topping the scoreboard in KDA for top laners in the league, and also highest for CS per minute. But the rest of his stats very much middling. And that's because he's pretty much on an island, right? He's not going to die a lot of the time. He's not going to get that many kills either. Generally speaking, it's much more about the team fights for him, and it's about finding that individual CS lead. But Meiko steps forward as Wei has to retreat on this one. And just remember, if we do get a fight coming up here, there's about a 7,000 gold lead in favor of RNG. We're only 21 minutes into the game. Any fight that happens, unless it's a huge pick, is massively RNG favored right now.
And it's funny because you can see a lot of the gold difference is actually in the bot lane as well, especially on the supports, where you look at the items Ming already has, you know, completed item, to where for Meiko, he's just sitting on components. So even a much more potent frontline coming out at this stage for RNG.
And I do want to quickly talk about the AD carries here, because coming into today, I think I was with a lot of people watching at home expecting Viper to be the better AD carry, expecting Viper to be not just better in this matchup, but the best AD carry in the league. And today we are seeing Gala step up. When you look at the statistics between these two AD carries, you look at KDA, Viper's second in the lead, Gala's third. You look at gold per minute, Viper's second, Gala's third. You look at CS per minute, Viper is second, Gala is third. It feels like Viper has just been ever so slightly ahead of Gala in every single category. But today, Gala is stepping up and showing that he is not a name to be underestimated.
I mean, and to be fair, Gala has 62 games of Kaisa in his career. That's almost double even his third most played champion. His Kaisa's close at his 50, but this is, we just need to keep hammering home, this is the Gala champion, but we're coming up to a dragon. We want to see how EDG play this. The Mega Gnar is about to be up. We need to see if Jiejie, if Flandre, if Meiko can find their way onto Cryin and Gala.
Let's see how this one can go down. It will be a Cloud Soul, so actually this is not the end of the world, but it doesn't matter. These two teams are posturing for a fight at EDG. I'm not going to lie, guys. I'm a little bit nervous for you in this one if it's a straight 5v5, because that gold lead, you're staring down a barrel right now. Wei's going to back off, but he does have a blast cone to get into the pit if he needs to. Flandre is a Mega Gnar. RNG could just wait this out forever.
Exactly. They can just be patient. I like the way that they've been trying to play off a flank as well. Dominus comes out over Xiaohu.
Oh, Flandre just gets the ult off onto one before turning into the mini Gnar here. But EDG, a real tanky in. There goes Xiaohu with the dominance on everyone here. Shockwave whiffs, though. It's a double for Gala to start this one off. Ming pulls in Scout, and Gala can just continue to clean house here. Triple for him as Wei chases Jiejie down, but Jiejie's a horse. He's fast as out, jumps towards the blast cone. Wei is desperate to chase him down, but he's just a homeless man in a bear suit. There's nothing he can do, and Jiejie knows it. Just running ring around the roses on the blast cone, and he's out of there. It's hilarious to see.
Well, sad for the homeless man in a bear suit. I actually had no idea that's what Udyr was, but yeah, Munchables. For that fight, I think Xiaohu and Gala just completely popping off. It was nice to see from EDG that, you know, they were recognizing the flank. They force Wei from behind. But at the same time, you also pointed out the Mega Gnar for Flandre. They timed that one out perfectly. They waited. They're going to pick up a Baron. Sure, EDG are going to get this Dragon. But when we're sitting on now an 8, maybe 9K gold lead for the side of RNG, I mean, I don't even think they need to wait out for the next Dragon. They should just be able to full force start sieging down some turrets.
Let's be honest, they don't care about Cloud Drakes this game. They don't need to care about Cloud Drakes. So let's take another look, because Xiaohu just goes absolutely mental in this fight.
And he just abuses because Flandre was Mega. He felt like he had to get that ultimate down before he turned mid. He throws it out on one member. They tried to chain it with Meiko walking forward and coordinating and engage, but Meiko is not tanky. Like we said, he's the least gold in the game by far. Gets bursted out immediately. Xiaohu instantly follows up onto the back line. Gala goes with him. And it's like your two frontliners down. You only have your carries left. We saw Scout waste a bunch of abilities trying to burn down Xiaohu after Flandre got the Mega Gnar ultimate onto him, and it was just an easy cleanup for RNG.
And just look at the items. Gala, we talked about him before that fight. He's now 5-1-7 off of the back of getting a triple in that fray. He is firing on all cylinders, right? I think he's got bonus cylinders to be firing out of at this point, because he's got the 3 items, he's got his boots, he's even got a stopwatch. So even if he mispositions, gets caught out in the fight, even if Jiejie manages to get on top of him, he can always just turn gold and keep himself safe. So this is feeling phenomenal for RNG. Lyric, I didn't expect to say this. They're on the cusp of going 2-0 in the lower bracket final against EDG. They are on the cusp of getting themselves to match point.
And it feels like it feels like a shirt at this point, Munchables. Again, the gold lead is just too large. The stats differentials coming out are going to be too difficult to overcome. I like the way that RNG have been playing through a 2-lane setup, right? They're just ping-ponging between mid and bot, rotating their pressure around, keeping Flandre off turret, trying to get some damage onto that one. And now you see their whole map rotating towards the top side of the map because they did have a wave slow pushing in. And you look, Flandre still has to answer the bottom wave. The members of EDG are going to be slower to move up, and it's just going to be more gold into the pockets of RNG.
So now up towards the top side, you can see Xiaohu pushing in the mid lane, but Jiejie, the secret agent, is on a mission. We saw something similar last game, and it didn't work out for EDG. He's been spotted, and it means RNG can play accordingly. They just run towards the horse. Jiejie has to use his ult defensively. And that's the play. Shot down. Straight out of the air. And now EDG just have to cower in their base as RNG take everything.
When you're the team that's this far ahead, you don't need to be afraid of any flanks because when the flanker comes in, you just all turn onto that side. You will be able to burst them out instantly. So RNG, they have defensive vision down, or I guess offensive vision, but it is behind them because they are pushing into EDG's base. So they are going to be able to spot out those flanks. And I think now you're probably just going to look for some resets to come out. They're probably sitting on a few K gold into each of their pockets. Come back onto the map, reestablish vision, and look to make the same plays where, again, have three members mid, have Xiaohu bot lane, have Wei kind of posturing in between them, transfer between both sides. Keep taking away the enemy jungle camp so Jiejie and Co are not getting any farm onto them. And then the next dragon's going to be up in a minute 50. And you don't even care about the dragon. What you care about is baiting EDG out of their base so you can find the fight to go and end the game.
Yeah, that'll be the big decider here. But as you rightly say, 10,000 gold lead. You know, I've got all of these stats on my sheet. I've got pick ban stats. I've got the veterancy of all these players. But it feels like all of that's out of the window. It doesn't feel like we're getting to see that version of EDG today. It doesn't feel like we're seeing the matchup that we all prepared for, that we're all expecting, because EDG not understanding how to play these matchups, RNG just kind of back to the regular season form again. And the part that baffles me here, Lyric, is I'm not upset to see RNG do well. I'm really excited to see RNG doing well again. I'm just a little disappointed that we're not seeing the EDG that we saw facing off against FPX. We're not seeing that same gumption that we got to see in that series.
And let's remember, a big difference is the fact that a lot of the times we've seen EDG popping off in playoffs have been moments between Jiejie and Scout. It's been when they've had very dynamic, strong 2v2 champions, and then the pressure would start from the mid jungle, and then it would turn towards bot lane. This time around, we've had Azirs, we've had Viktors, we've had Oriannas, and like, sure, there's some playmaking potential on some of these champions once you get that ultimate, but it's not the same. They're all very defensive. They can all clear from turret. There's, you know, shields. There's disengage coming out. So EDG not able to play the same game as Wei.
Cryine's trying to escape up to the top side. Jiejie actually popped his ghost there with the phase rush. You could see how quickly he was charging around, but nothing comes of it. And Wei is doing a really good job here of just playing towards his lanes, right? Whoever's overextending, Wei is there. And so they're not technically overextended, right? He's able to just shadow them. In the meantime, Gala's at the other side of the map soloing the Drake. This will be another one for RNG here, putting them on Cloud, Soul Point. He can move over towards Xiaohu, who's pushing out. They can take a blue buff. Like, both jungles now belong to RNG. This doesn't feel like it gets a lot better. I will say, EDG have scaling. This is nearly on, I mean, Viktor's nearly on 3 items, so maybe there's some kind of miracle team fight that can happen.
Munchables.
I'm reaching here.
Look in Cryine's inventory. He's already picked up the death cap, so anytime Wei, Xiaohu, or Ming can bring that ball in, I feel like we're going to see Scout and Viper, and then they will just suddenly be gone. They will just be popped. He has so much burst damage right now. Gala will always be able to follow that up as well with the Killer Instinct. It's a rough one, Munchables. And we know there's a lot of EDG fans watching. We know those EDG fans, Munchables. We follow them on Twitter. We know who they are. They're going to be disappointed.
Oh, we certainly do. Here we go. Fight kicks off. Meiko on the front line. He just ain't tanky enough, though. Viper's going to get knocked up. Scout forced out of the fight as well. And this feels like it's over before it's even begun. There's a good knock-up from Meiko, but there's no real follow-up here. And so RNG just get yet another easy fight win. It's only a pick onto the support, but that's probably enough to get the Baron.
Think about it. Gala just Killer Instinct into the front line. Oh, Flandre has to E away. Doesn't have that now for his ultimate, but does still have flash up.
Yeah, that was very nicely read by RNG. Almost getting a bonus pick on the end of that fight. They'll just get mid-prior now and can return to the Baron.
And they do still, like, they have a bit of turn potential, right? You always have the dredge line coming out from the Nautilus. You have flash on Xiaohu, so he can always, like, look for the flash stun. But still, this might be the best chance that EDG are going to get to try to turn this into a coin flip, because we do have the ultimate for Jiejie.
Oh! Shockwave from Cryin! He wants a series win for himself. They will answer with 1 kill. Flandre's going to go down, though, and Gala is just so enormous. Double from him. Flashes to take down Viper, but the double stopwatch, there's one on either side, and in goes Xiaohu to finish the Korean AD carry. It's easy pickings for RNG. They were just sandbagging the previous series. It was all a bait. They're actually the best team in the league.
And we said it, when the shockwave would come out, members of EDG would just get popped, and RNG are aggressive enough to follow the play.
Unbelievable performance coming out here from RNG. 2 wins on the trot in dominant style against EDG, and they already pushed themselves to match point.
You know, League of Legends math just does not check out Munchables. This team got 3-0'd by FPX. We thought, hey, EDG, they took it to a 5-game series. It was close. We saw the ways they were strong. We saw the ways that they improved. We saw where they were weak. And now they come in, and RNG is just having the time of their lives. We see in game 1, I feel like RNG weren't really the aggressors. They played a much more controlled pace of game. We saw that the gold lead didn't balloon until 20 minutes. This game around, though, it came from proactive plays themselves. It all started when Jiejie went for that invade when they knew they forced... actually, when Wei went for the invade, when they forced Jiejie back around bot side, he gets forced out of the jungle. Suddenly, single TP, double flank coming around. They pick up a ton of kills. And from there, it seems like EDG just didn't know how to get their game going.
Yeah, and the moment where Wei interrupted the TP from Flandre up in the top side to turn that huge fight on the bot side was just A really, really highlight moment for RNG. And it feels like as soon as RNG get control in these early games, they never let go, right? They're playing really intelligently. Nobody's overstepping. Wei is consistently shadowing his solo lanes. We kept on seeing Cryin pushing up in a side lane, and Wei would be just hovering around that portion of the jungle just to make sure that Cryin was all right no matter what happened. And a really, really clean win again from RNG. And again, Gala being set up to be the carry, being set up to be the superstar on the squad. And it feels refreshing to see after a split of entirely playing through Xiaohu.
It also feels refreshing to see a Hecarim come out and a Hecarim also lose. Because, you know, that was one thing we were questioning. Is like, hey, they're not first picking the Hecarim. They were first picking their AD carry, shows up massively. And now for RNG, it's like, hey, you haven't even really show like any of your more dynamic or diverse picks or strategies. And like, sure, EDG knows them because you've already played 2 series, but it's like you kept it very bread and butter. You kept it very standard, and you've had a very easy time.
So let's talk EDG then. Moving into game number 3, what have we got to see? Because I feel like maybe you got to ban the Kaisa at this point, but that leaves other power picks available. Scout getting so many bans towards him, it feels like he's trapped in a corner here. I want to see him on, like, I don't know, bring out a Renekton or something. Just play something wacky. It doesn't have to be meta, but I don't think that these scaling mages are going to cut it right now in this series, because it feels like this is all about the early game. That's
the thing, right? Because realistically, there's nothing he can do about changing RNG's bans. If RNG are going to ban out 3 champions and some of his best champions, right, that took away the Silas, it's like, what do you really have left in the tank? Sure, maybe you could go back towards that Syndra. We hinted at it earlier. That Syndra's not really strong in the meta right now. She has like some mana pool issues. Verdant Barrier got nerfed, but I still think it's a solid answer into the Syndra pick. But I agree with you, something more that gives you a bit more pressure, a bit more priority. And that's not to say that he was performing bad that game at all, right? Because in those early trades, he was completely dominating, but it feels like the rest of the members aren't able to step up and find the advantage that it looks like EDG need if they're going to win.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is for EDG, but they better hope they can find out in the next few minutes. We're going to jump into a quick break, and we could have this series decided in the next game. The rivalry between RNG and EDG could be decided in